shall we?
Yeah. Do you want to read the beginning?
I do.
Intro?
Let's do it. From Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine in Cleveland, Ohio, this is the All Access Med School Admissions Podcast. Hello again, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. Lina Mehta, Associate Dean for Admissions here at the medical school. Hey, Christian.
Hi, Dr. Mehta. That was pretty good. That's my line.
You know, I think I've heard it once or twice, and I felt pretty comfortable delivering it.
Well, this is the COVID episode that I talked about. And you know what? Now that people are listening to this, they'll notice I'm not putting COVID in the title of the episode because I'm on some podcast listservs and stuff, and they're finding that Spotify is not allowing certain podcasts with COVID in the title, which is interesting.
Because they're worried about bad information dissemination?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
interesting.
They're just not. So that's why it's not titled the COVID episode, but I thought that was interesting. So anyway, hey, we're hearing a lot of questions from pre-med students about three topics we're going to talk about here. What about pass, no pass, coursework? What about the MCAT? And what about those disrupted experiences? So, I mean, we're hearing it. We heard it, a lot of these questions on the AAMC's virtual fair we had a couple weeks ago, and we've been getting emails in our office. I know our friends at other admissions offices are getting these. Mm-hmm. And what can you say from a national level? What are you hearing?
There's a lot of dialogue at the national level. I think that applicants potentially may feel that they're adrift in all of this and nobody understands what they're going through. And I can assure all the students listening to this podcast that is absolutely not the case. Every medical school in the U.S. is having very intense discussion about how to handle all of the issues that you just mentioned. At the national level, I know the AAMC is focusing on it. The Committee on Admissions is focusing on it. There's a lot of buzz and a lot of rapid decision-making that has to occur. So for all of you medical school hopefuls who are listening to this, know that you are not doing this in a vacuum, that everybody is trying to figure out the best way to move forward here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. It is. We all have to fill our classes next year and the years after that. So there's going to be some changes coming. We just don't know what they are yet.
Absolutely.
So I compiled some of the questions that we've received from prospective students. So let me just kind of run through these and I want to get your feelings on them. So first topic, we're going to talk about coursework that's been made pass or no pass. Maybe it's optional, pass, no pass. So this one question is from a listener. It said, my school has gone to an all pass, no pass for this semester. How do you think admissions offices will view this in my future application?
So I'm a little loath to talk about all admissions offices, even though I'm starting to get an idea of how schools are going to handle this for the most part. Christian did put a spreadsheet out on our admissions listserv a couple of days ago to sort of get a global view of how schools are going to be handling pass, no pass. So for Case Western, Case Western Reserve School of Medicine, we will accept pass, no pass this semester. There's a possibility that this will go into summer semesters. So we'll deal with that as we need to. We don't want to see more than a semester or two of pass, no pass. We also understand this is a very fluid, dynamic, and very changeable situation. So we may change our guidelines on this to be a little bit more liberal even than they are right now. But for sure, we're going to accept pass, no pass grading for this upcoming 2021 application cycle. Our committee, I know, would like to see no more than 10 credit hours of pass, no pass in the biology, chemistry, physics, and math calculation, which then drills it down to a semester or maybe the summer semester as well. But again, we're going to stay fluid with that. Mm-hmm. If schools offer a grade, the opportunity for pass, no pass versus a grade, I leave it to the student. I know that our admissions committee knows that many of you are under unbelievable amounts of stress right now, whether it's you don't have great internet access at home, or you're a student who requires accommodations and you're not able to access those as readily from home, or, maybe somebody in your family has lost a job in this economic downturn. We know there are so many variables at play right now that you do what you're comfortable doing. If you feel like you have all your ducks in the row and you can do well on your prereqs, go for the grade. If you feel that there's it's tenable, it's tenuous at all for you, do pass, no pass. Do what you think works for you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Dr. Mehta, you just mentioned the Google Sheet, and I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes. About a week and a half ago or so, I tried to poll all of our admissions office friends around the country to get their input on how they're handling pass, no pass. And so I've now made that, I've got a spreadsheet that's available. It's viewable only for students. So I'll put that in the show notes. It's not every med school. It's about 70. So we're at about half. But until something more formalized is created, this can kind of get the job done, at least to get an insight into how each school is handling that.
I know that at the national level, our AAMC, our governing body, is working on collating this information in a succinct and all-encompassing way, but it's going to take time with the large number of medical schools that we have here in the United States.
So,
I do want to
go ahead.
I do want to offer one qualification on my comment on pass, no pass. A special circumstance in this regard would be for students who are in an academic enhancement program.
Okay.
Whether it's a special master's program or a post-baccalaureate program that are designed to enhance an academic record. That's a little bit more difficult. If a student applies with a lower undergraduate record than they would like to have presented, and they're in an academic enhancement program, and it winds up being a lot of pass, no pass, it's going to be a little bit difficult for admissions committees to give the full credit that the applicant would be potentially looking for. So that may be a little bit more of a special situation. I think a lot of the master's academic enhancement programs are generally smaller in size. Maybe they're able to resource those courses a little bit more. I don't know. But I mean, certainly we're not saying no, but we're going to look at those on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah,
I think that's a little bit harder.
Yeah, if you're in a program right now, think about that before putting an application out there. How about, let's move on to MCAT. I think we kind of covered some of the most common questions we've been receiving, especially about pass, no pass. Okay, I saw at the time we're recording this, as of April 1st, all the April MCAT administrations have been canceled globally. We don't know what May looks like yet, but so and that's what, 25% of applicants take the MCAT in April or May? Is that
20 to 25% take a quote unquote spring, early summer MCAT?
Yeah. So
that could be January, February.
Yeah. Here's a listener question. I recently had my MCAT date rescheduled to June due to COVID-19. And I was wondering if there would be any adjustments to the application timeline due to the current situation. What do you think?
It's too early to say anything definitively. I know there's conversation about readjusting the application timelines, whether it's globally at the national level or whether it's more individually school-based remains to be seen. I know that we've talked with our admissions committee about potentially moving our interview season a little bit later so that applicants who wind up taking later summer or even early fall MCATs would still be able to be considered in this year's application cycle. MCAT is working very diligently, I know, with the testing center to try and increase the number of seats in late summer, early fall, to give more availability for applicants whose tests have been canceled to take them in time for this application year. So it's difficult to say what everybody's going to do. I know here at Case Western, Christian, as you and I have discussed with our admissions committee, we're probably going to move things a little bit later than we have done in the past.
What if, okay, here's another question. And a lot of students are in the same boat. What if I can't take the MCAT until late the fall? Should I even apply this year? It's a tough one.
Boy, I think that we would address this. I would be able to address this more definitively as time moves on.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're all struggling. Like Christian said, if med schools want to fill their classes, we're going to have to be flexible and nimble and dynamic in the way that we approach these situations. So we're going to, as I said, we're going to try and move our MCAT later, our admission cycle interview season a little bit later. We'll probably be adjusting the latest MCAT that we'll accept for this cycle. And here's the thing, if a lot of students are going to have these delayed MCATs. And, you know, as we just mentioned, a large proportion, almost a quarter of students take a spring or summer MCAT.
Yeah.
So if we don't wait, everyone's going to be interviewing just those kids who all just got those early MCATs in, and there's going to be a whole cohort who we're not looking at. So my supposition is going to be that even if it's a fall MCAT, most med schools are going to find ways to accommodate them through the interview cycle.
Yeah. I mean, we heard from some friends that they're already talking about how they're going to do virtual interviews this fall. They're planning on doing that already. And so I think the interview season is going to look different this year. It
very well may. There's a lot of thought that as things hopefully calm down in June, July, there could be a second spike, as we're seeing in some of the countries in East Asia right now. There may be a second spike in mid to late fall, which could potentially necessitate our going to virtual interviews. So there's a lot of moving pieces here for all of us.
Yeah. So I think it's what I'm hearing though is like, one, we're all having to deal with this. Yeah. And this is unprecedented. We've never gone through this before. So there's going to be a lot of unknowns that it sounds just like we don't know right now, but we're all trying to plan ahead for what this could look like. So just know that we're all in the same boat. Yeah.
We're all in the same boat, and we all have to work to be flexible on both sides, and we all have to become comfortable with a little bit of uncertainty. We're all dealing with this on every level. My daughter's a junior in high school, and her ACT has been canceled, and she's doing virtual school, and she knows this is a year she has to show strong grades so she can get in college next year. And, everybody's got something going on right now, which is going to necessitate flexibility. And again, just a little bit of an ability to sit with discomfort and unpredictability.
Yeah. But too, she's not the only junior having to deal with this. It's not your daughter at her high school who's got this problem and everybody else is fine. Every junior in high school is having to deal with it. And then every college is going to have to be accommodating and flexible. Yeah. So
so how are they going to accept her?
Exactly. So
so her core classes are being graded. Her electives are pass, no pass in high school.
Yeah.
So it's just at every level. So
everything's upside down.
So we're all just going to have to roll with it.
Okay. How about our third topic here? Disrupted experiences. So here's a question. I'm planning on doing summer research at my university this summer, but at the moment it's not guaranteed that the summer research will even be able to continue due to COVID-19. How will MSTP programs see this if I don't have all this research on my application?
I definitely cannot speak for MSTP programs at this juncture. I would imagine they're going to have to be flexible, just like the straight MD programs are going to have to be different stakes, different outcomes, different expectations, different requirements for maybe a certain skill set out of the gate than a straight MD program might have. But it's a very real issue. Certainly all research on our campus for non-essential personnel is curtailed right now. So remote stuff is going on, but from a laboratory bench perspective, that can't really happen. So in the same vein, students are going to have maybe fewer shadowing hours, fewer volunteer hours.
Yeah, that's the next common question. Yes, everybody wants to have shadowing and they're in the middle of volunteering and accumulating these hours. How will that impact future applicants?
So one of the things that we are thinking of doing, and I know a lot of schools across the country are thinking of doing this as well, is putting a question in our secondary about how you, the applicant, have been impacted by COVID-19. What did it disrupt for you? What changes have you faced in your life? What were you not able to participate in that you had anticipated participating in? What kind of challenges are you and your families facing right now? So it'll give, I think, students an opportunity to let us know what's been disrupted, what had been planned for, and then maybe the opportunity to tell us a little bit about how they've accomplished these competencies that we're all looking for in ways that aren't maybe as clearly defined in the application.
I know that the osteopathic application service is going to be adding a special question, and very much what you mentioned about how COVID affected you academically, financially, or medically, or something to that effect. I think it's too late for AMCAS to add that question because it's opening up in 4 weeks. So, but I think, like you said, we're going to be adding a question like that. And I think a lot of other med schools are going to be encouraged to add something like that to their secondary applications.
I think it's going to be really critical that we give some type of space for the applicants to talk about this. Virtually every school in the United States employs holistic review in whatever way suits their mission specific goals. And for us to not give the applicants a defined place to talk about this, I think is going to be challenging for us to do holistic review because we're going to be missing so much.
I mean, we heard from some of our advisor friends that some students, they couldn't go back to their dorms and get their computers or get their books and their notes and stuff. So that's why they're struggling keeping up with their classes. And then the university moved to pass, no pass. So there's a lot of issues. I
heard from a pre-med advisor the other day who said that 18% of her students don't have internet access at home. 37% of our students had a parent who's lost a job in the last few weeks because of the economic downturn. So the effects on our applicant pool, we know, are going to be great and very wide ranging. And I think, again, it's critical that we understand what our applicants are facing as they apply to med school.
Well, I think that covers those are like some of the main questions we've been receiving. And I have to think a lot of our other friends have too, because we've been kind of sharing them back and forth. I'm going to put links to the AAMC's COVID resource hub, which they have then they break it down for things for MCAT and AMCAS, and then for things for med schools. And then the AACOMAS, the Osteopathic Application Service, has a resource hub too. I'll put links to those. Any kind of final remarks about this? I mean, there's so much that's uncertain right now. And hearing this might sound a little unfulfilling because we're not able to give definitive answers, but I think they can be reassured that we're in this with them.
Yeah. No, again, yeah, agreed. I just want to underscore that this is a very fluid situation, the likes of which none of us have ever seen or even envisioned outside of a novel or a movie. And we're all in it together. And we have to fill our classes. Applicants are applying to med school. We're all going to just have to find ways, again, to sit with a little bit of uncertainty and to stay dynamic, to be forgiving of each other, and to understand that this could be a day by day change as the process, as this pandemic unrolls. So we're all in it together. We're going to try and all do the best we can and get where we need to go.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for doing this. I'm glad I was able to coordinate with you to get you on here.
And me too. We're both doing it from home. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Working from home. I want to tell everyone listening, stay safe out there. Wash your hands.
Social distance.
Be well. Socially distance.
Yeah.
Okay. Be safe. Be well.
All right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.